though the mother-in-law was mute. The daughter-in-law could hear her thoughts clearly. When she heard her wish for a soft cotton duvet cover, she immediately put down her orange and went out to buy a new one for her. But as soon as the mother-in-law lay down, she pulled out several bloodstained silver needles from under the covers. The nurse saw it and instantly became furious, accusing the daughter-in-law of abusing the elderly. The husband rushed into the room upon hearing the commotion and slapped her across the face without hesitation, calling her heartless. The woman stood there in shock, thinking it was all just a misunderstanding, until before the surgery. The mother-in-law said she wanted to see some old photos, so the woman went home and brought the photo album to the nurse. But the moment the album was opened, it was filled with pictures of her supposedly abusing the mother-in-law. The watching crowd erupted with anger, and someone shoved her to the ground. In the chaos, she was seriously injured and stopped breathing right then and there. But when she opened her eyes again, she had returned to the first day her mother-in-law was hospitalized. This time, she once again heard that familiar inner voice, but she chose to ignore it. When the mother-in-law asked for a cotton duvet, she pretended to agree and secretly hid her husband's phone charger. She knew her husband suffered from severe anxiety and would lose it if his phone ran out of battery, so she used the moment to send him out to buy the duvet. While he was gone, she slowly began making the bed, but her husband returned anxiously, snatching the duvet from her and making the bed himself. Just then the nurse wheeled the mother-in-law back into the room, and as soon as she lay down, she pulled out those same bloodstained silver needles. The nurse once again accused them of abuse, and the mother-in-law pointed toward the woman and let out muffled sounds. This time the woman immediately realized she was being set up again, so she grabbed her husband and questioned him on the spot, asking how silver needles could end up in the bedding. After all, the only ones who had touched the bed were him and his mother. The husband froze, suddenly beginning to doubt his mother's motives. The mother-in-law turned red with panic, desperately trying to explain, but to onlookers, it looked like her son was bullying her. Someone in the crowd called the police. The husband went pale with fear. His career had just started, and he couldn't afford any negative press. But the woman just watched coldly, because in her previous life, when she was pushed into despair, her husband hadn't defended her even once. In the end, he was taken in for investigation. The mother-in-law became emotionally unstable, and the doctor said she needed surgery immediately. On the way to the operating room, the mother-in-law used her thoughts again to beg, asking to see the old photo album left behind by her late husband. The woman told her coldly to focus on the surgery, and that she'd be waiting outside. Still, the mother-in-law waved frantically. The nurse said the surgery was risky, and urged the woman to respect her final wishes. The woman replied she was just nervous before the operation, and pretended to cooperate, taking over the wheelchair herself. But unexpectedly, the mother-in-law stopped the wheelchair halfway, and insisted on writing something down in her notebook. The woman snatched the paper from her, and went back home. There in the corner, was the familiar photo album. As expected, it was still filled with fake evidence, but this time, she discovered a hidden folder tucked away in another part of the album.